Hey everyone. So if you're out there and you're thinking about maybe starting your own business or just trying to level up your finances, this deep dive is going to be right up your alley.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about how billionaires think, right? How they view money and how they think about risk. And we've got a great source for this, the Mindset Shift podcast and their episode. It's called Think Like a Billionaire, the Money Mindset You Need. And
I love that title.
yeah, it's very catchy.
It is catchy. It's very clickbaity.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's some really, really good information in there. So that's what we're going to unpack today.
Well, and what I like about this episode in particular is it does try and get beyond, billionaires, they're just rich.
Right.
It tries to actually get into the mindset.
Exactly.
What is it that makes them tick?
Yeah, it's not just by chance.
Right.
They didn't just win the lottery,
They've got a different way of approaching money and risk, and those are the takeaways I really want to, pull out of this, and hopefully our listeners can apply to their own lives.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first thing that I noticed was how billionaires view money.
Okay. Yeah.
They don't think of it as the end-all be-all.
They don't.
It's not like Scrooge McDuck diving into a pile of gold coins.
Yeah.
It's really a tool for them.
Absolutely. They see it as something that can be used to solve problems.
Right. Create an impact.
And create change in the world. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what they are after, is making that impact, solving those problems.
Right. It's not about hoarding it. It's about using it.
Yeah.
And I think a great example of this, the podcast gave a couple, but the one that really stands out to me is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
He could have just sat on his fortune after the PayPal days.
Oh, absolutely.
But, he poured that money into SpaceX. He poured it into Tesla. And he did it because he's like, I want to, revolutionize space travel and, revolutionize the automobile industry, AI. He wants to solve huge problems.
He does.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important point, is that the money was secondary to the impact.
Absolutely.
So it's not that he was pursuing money. It was just, this is a tool that could be used to achieve this goal.
And this is a great lead-in to one of the main habits that the podcast highlights, that billionaires have, and that is invest, don't just save.
Yes.
Billionaires, they realize that money has to be put to work. You can't just let it sit in a bank account.
Oh, absolutely. If it's just sitting there, it's doing nothing.
It's losing value. Right.
Exactly.
So it's all about putting that money to work, letting it grow. And a big thing is generating income while you sleep.
Oh, yes. Passive income.
Passive income. I love that.
Yeah.
The podcast actually quotes Warren Buffett. They say, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die.
That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wow.
It's very blunt.
But it's true.
It's true.
You got to break out of that. Just, I go to work, I get paid for an hour. That's the only way I make money.
Right. The trading time for money.
Yeah. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
And that leads into the second habit of billionaires that the podcast really emphasizes. And that is building multiple income streams.
Yes.
So billionaires rarely rely on just one source of income.
Right.
They'll have income coming from real estate, from stocks, from businesses that they own, intellectual property. They've got their hands in a lot of different things.
They do.
And the reason is they're spreading the risk.
Exactly. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
So that if something goes down, you've got other things that are still bringing money in.
Now, this next habit, this is the one that a lot of people get really uncomfortable about.
Oh, yeah.
And that is taking calculated risks.
Yeah, I think this is really where the billionaire mindset comes into play.
Right.
They're not afraid to take risks.
But they're not reckless.
Right, they're calculated risks.
Exactly.
They weigh the potential rewards against the potential downsides.
Yeah, the podcast gives a great example of Jeff Bezos and how he makes decisions.
Oh, yeah.
He has this philosophy called 10x returns.
10x returns.
Meaning, if I'm going to invest in something,
yeah,
the potential gain has to be at least 10 times greater than the potential loss.
Which is huge.
Huge.
But it also makes sense if you think about it. If you want exponential growth, you can't just be playing it safe all the time.
Right.
So you have to be willing to go for those big wins.
Right. It's understanding that, big reward, usually big risk.
Yeah.
But you can mitigate that risk by doing your research, being prepared, being willing to learn from your mistakes. I think this is a really key takeaway, especially for people who are thinking about starting their own businesses.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to take a chance.
Yeah, you have to.
But you got to do it smartly.
Yeah, you got to have that balance.
And you got to be willing to learn from when things don't go your way. Now, we're talking about habits, but there's another huge component to the billionaire mindset, and that's
It all comes down to mindset.
mindset.
The way they think about things.
It's their perspective, right? Is how they approach challenges.
Yeah.
And the podcast highlights 3 key mindset shifts that they say are essential for, if you want to achieve that financial success.
Okay, I'm interested.
So the first one is stop trading time for money.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, right. So it's that idea of breaking free from, the 9 to 5, I only get paid for the hours I work.
Right, right.
It's building systems and assets that make you money, whether you're working or not.
Passive income.
Passive income, exactly.
Yeah.
And the podcast quotes Naval Ravikant here, and they say, rich people buy time, poor people sell time.
I love that quote. It's so simple, but so true.
It is. It is. And it really kind of just hits you,
It does.
Because if you're constantly trading your time for money, then you're always limited by the time you have.
Right.
But if you can build something that generates that income passively,
It frees you up.
it frees you up.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate goal. It's that financial freedom
Yeah.
where, your income's not tied to you constantly being on.
Exactly.
So that could be through, building an online business. It could be investing in dividend-paying stocks. It could be creating some kind of intellectual property that generates royalties.
I've even heard of people, writing an ebook
Oh, yeah.
like years ago, and it's still generating passive income for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the second mindset shift is embrace problems as opportunities.
Okay.
Billionaires, they don't shy away from problems. They see them as like, oh, this is a chance to innovate.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Right. So while other people are seeing obstacles and roadblocks,
They see possibility.
they see potential. Right.
Yeah.
They see that gap in the market. They see a need that's waiting to be met.
Yeah, and a solution that can be created.
And they're like, how can I solve this? How can I
Yeah.
turn this into something valuable?
Right.
So it's all about having that solution-oriented mindset and really kind of looking at the world with those rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, always looking for that opportunity.
And that kind of ties into the third mindset shift.
Yeah.
And that is thinking long-term instead of short-term gains.
Oh, yeah. Delayed gratification.
Exactly. So billionaires, they understand that building wealth, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
It takes time.
It takes time and patience and consistency.
Yeah, it's not about those get-rich-quick schemes.
But
It's about building something that lasts.
right. They're building an empire. They're not trying to just flip a house and make a quick buck.
Right.
They're willing to, delay that gratification, reinvest their profits, make decisions that are going to, have sustainable growth over instant profits.
And I think a classic example of this is Jeff Bezos with Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those early days, he was plowing every single profit right back into the business.
And people thought he was crazy.
Oh, yeah. They're like, when are you going to turn a profit?
But he was like, nope, I'm building for the future.
He had that long-term vision.
Yeah. And, I think it's safe to say it paid off. And it's a reminder that you got to have a clear vision. You got to have a good strategy.
And stick to it.
And you got to stick with it, even when things get tough, So all of this is great, right? We've got these habits, we've got these mindsets, but how do we actually, put these into action? Luckily for us, the Mindset Shift podcast, they actually give us some really solid steps to start putting this billionaire wisdom to work in our own lives.
Okay, cool.
So step number 1, and it sounds, maybe too simple, but write down 3 problems that you could solve.
Okay.
And I know it sounds simple, but think about it. Every successful business, every innovation, it all started with somebody identifying a need or a problem and saying, I can fix that. So it could be a problem that you personally face, something you've seen in your community, maybe even a global challenge, something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
Because that passion is going to be the fuel
Right.
that's going to keep you going when you're trying to solve this thing.
Absolutely.
And that solution could be anything. It could be the start of the business. It could be a new product. It could be a social impact initiative that makes a real difference in the world.
Right, right. Okay, so that's step 1. What's number 2?
Step number 2 is create one new income stream.
Okay.
And, we were talking about how billionaires diversify their income. Well, this is where you start putting that principle into practice in your own life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this huge, massive undertaking.
Well, right.
It could be starting a side hustle. It could be investing in a rental property, creating an online course and selling that. Maybe even something as simple as renting out a spare room on Airbnb.
Oh.
The whole idea is, you want to start exploring different avenues for generating income. so that you're not just relying on that one paycheck.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's the final action step?
The final action step is read and learn like billionaires do.
I love this one.
Yeah, they're voracious readers, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The podcast really emphasizes how dedicated these people are to constantly learning new things. They're always reading, they're going to conferences, they're always trying to, you know, expand their knowledge and get different perspectives.
Yeah,
They understand that, the world's changing so fast, you got to be a lifelong learner to keep up.
that's for sure.
And they mentioned, like Warren Buffett famously reads like 500 pages a day.
Wow.
Bill Gates takes reading vacations.
I love that. I need to take a reading vacation.
Right. So it's pretty inspiring to see that level of commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's not about just cramming your head full of information. It's about really engaging with what you're reading. Thinking critically about it, seeking out different viewpoints, really trying to understand the world around you better.
Yeah.
And the episode actually ends with a really great quote, and it says, "Your bank account is a reflection of what you know. Learn more, earn more."
So true.
Yeah, it's investing in yourself and your knowledge and your skills.
That's the best investment you can make.
Absolutely. So there you have it, a little peek into the billionaire mindset, strategies for managing money and risk, and some real, concrete steps that you can take today to start building that brighter financial future.
I love it.
It's not about becoming a billionaire overnight.
No, it's a process.
It's about shifting your perspective
Yeah.
and realizing that these principles that drive their success, you can apply those to your life too.
Absolutely.
It's all about building those habits, making smart decisions, and, enjoying the journey as you go.
It's about the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we've got for this deep dive, but hopefully it's given you some things to think about.
It definitely has for me.
Yeah, so think big, keep learning, keep hustling smart, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.